Disclaimer: information in this video is for general educational purposes only. Full effort has been made to provide accurate and true information, but Australian tax laws can change and individual situations may be different. Please speak to a qualified tax professional for personal advice. Basic principles of Australian tax residency rules. Australia taxes people differently depending on whether they are considered an Australian resident for tax purposes or a foreign resident. Why does Australia tax residents on worldwide income? If you are an Australian resident for tax purposes, Australia generally taxes income earned in Australia, income earned overseas, salary, business income, investments, and some other types of income from anywhere in the world. The idea behind this rule is simple. People living in Australia enjoy many benefits, such as roads, hospitals, schools, police and defense protection, parks and public services, pensions and government benefits. Taxes help pay for these services. What about foreign residents? Foreign residents are usually taxed only on income earned from Australian sources, certain Australian investments or assets. This is because Australia needs a connection to the income before taxing it. If the money is earned through activities in Australia, then Australia claims the right to tax that income. For example, working in Australia, running a business in Australia, renting out Australian property. The four main tests for individual tax residency. Australian tax law uses four main tests to decide if someone is a resident for tax purposes. A person may qualify under just one test, the resides test. This is the main test. It simply asks, does the person live in Australia according to ordinary everyday meaning? The tax office looks at things like where the person lives, family connections, work location, lifestyle, social ties, how long they stay in Australia. This is based mostly on facts and daily life. Number 2 is domicile and permanent place of abode test. A person may still be treated as an Australian resident if their legal domicile is Australia, unless they have a permanent place of abode outside Australia. Now the question is, what is domicile? Domicile is a legal concept. Usually, people start with the domicile of their parents at birth. Later, they can choose a new domicile by moving to another country permanently. To change domicile, a person generally needs to live in another country and intend to make it their long-term home. What does it mean by permanent place of abode outside Australia? Even if a person's domicile is Australia, they may stop being an Australian resident if they truly settle overseas. The tax office looks at factors such as how long they stay overseas, whether the stay is temporary or long-term, whether they set up a real home overseas, whether they still keep strong ties with Australia, family connections, bank accounts, children's schooling, frequency of return visits. Permanent does not mean forever. It mainly means not temporary, not short-term, not just traveling around. Someone living overseas for a substantial time and setting up a real home there may have a permanent place of abode outside Australia. Number 3 is the 183-day test. A person may also become an Australian resident if they stay in Australia for more than half the income year, usually 183 days or more. However, they may avoid residency if their usual home is overseas and they do not intend to live in Australia permanently. Number 4 is superannuation test. Some Australian government employees working overseas are still treated as Australian residents for tax purposes. This rule mainly applies to certain government workers connected to specific superannuation schemes. Key points to remember: tax residency is not based only on citizenship, visas, passports. It depends on the overall facts of a person's life and connections. A person can live overseas but still be an Australian tax resident, or live in Australia temporarily and still be a foreign resident for tax purposes. To summarize, Australian tax residency rules are designed to decide who should pay tax on worldwide income and who should only pay tax on Australian income. The tax office looks at where a person lives, their intentions, family and financial ties, living arrangements, length of stay inside and outside Australia. Every situation is different, so residency questions often depend on the full picture of someone's life. Like and subscribe for more Australian-related tax videos.